Holy City Center Radio, this is episode 123, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. The battle for the future of abortion rights in this state could still be going on when you listen to this podcast. More on that in a moment. Lots of news to get to today. I hope all of you are having a great week. Mine's pretty good so far. On Monday night, I went to the Charleston Music Hall to see a comedian by the name of Hari Kondabolu. I've seen a couple of his specials or clips online. I've heard him on podcasts before and always thought he was pretty funny, and so decided to check him out. Tickets were pretty inexpensive, and there was actually a few in the front row available. And I checked the day of the show. Maybe they were reserved. Sometimes tickets up close are reserved for like the performers to give out to, fans or something, or family members, whatever it may be. And if they don't have any, they just release them. So I was able to sit in the front row, which was good. And his opener was good as well, but he was fantastic. It was just a really, really funny set, and I really enjoyed it. Other than that, things have been pretty quiet. I guess I shouldn't say that. I went and did something the other night. Good for me, right, guys? Well, but other than that, I have nothing of note to report to all of you. So let's get into the news. On Tuesday, Democratic lawmakers in the South Carolina House filed 1,000 amendments to a proposed abortion ban bill ahead of this special legislative session. As we talked about last week, the General Assembly here in South Carolina was brought back in session by Governor McMaster, the first time that has been done in years, meaning having them come back for extra session being called by the governor. They've had extra sessions before that they did on their own. But in any event, Governor McMaster told them he wanted them back, and he has priorities that he wants passed. One of them is this abortion ban bill. So by the time you're hearing this could still be going on, as Democrats, as you'll hear, have done a few different things to try to drag this out. But it seems both sides are pretty dug in at this point. So there's a chance this is still going on. When you hear this, there's also a chance that it's already been wrapped up. Whatever ends up happening, I'll be sure to talk about it on Friday's podcast, assuming it's wrapped up by then, but I'll be sure to give you an update. But here is where things stand as I'm recording this podcast. Representative Gilda Cobb-Hunter, she's a Democrat from Orangeburg, said during a Tuesday morning news conference that the party is here for the long haul. The House began debate on Tuesday after that press conference on an amended version of the Senate's 6-week abortion ban as part of this special legislative session. So the measure would ban abortion when an ultrasound detects cardiac activity, which is around 6 weeks, and before most people even know they're pregnant. We've talked about this before. It's the so-called fetal heartbeat ban or act, or the Prevent Abortion Act. It's gone by a bunch of different names, but fetal heartbeat you've probably heard a lot, as this 6-week ban has pretty much been the standard coming out of the South Carolina Senate. Now, there are going to be limited exceptions if it passes in its current state. It includes exceptions for rape, incest, fetal fatal anomalies, and to save the mother's life or health. A lot, again, who knows what will change by the time this podcast comes out. Representative Heather Bauer, a Democrat from Richland, has called the bill's potential passing a complete invasion of our privacy. On the other side, House Speaker Merle Smith has said the chamber will not adjourn until the measure gets approval, which is why I mentioned this could be dragging on. But as I mentioned at the top, Democrats did file 1,000 amendments in an effort to prolong this discussion, even after Republicans invoked rules trying to limit debate. So even though they tried to limit it, obviously having to discuss 1,000 amendments in any capacity is going to take some time. Representative Beth Bernstein, she is a Democrat from Richland. She said, quote, "We have no intention of pulling any amendments. We are going to make it hurt if they are going to force this on us," end quote. You may remember last month, the Senate rejected a proposal that would have banned nearly all abortions in the state that came from the South Carolina House. So the Senate's version, this 6-week ban, the House finally backed off their even more extreme position of banning basically all abortions, and have decided the only way this is going to have a chance to pass is if they pass the Senate's version. or something as similar to it as possible. So that's what's going on right now. The South Carolina House Republicans, not all of them, because there were, I think, 2 women who broke off from the party and forced this bill to not pass the last time, or I think it was earlier this month, maybe it was last month. So, it's not the entirety of the party in the House, but the vast majority is trying to get this pushed through because the Senate has already approved it, and then they can send it to Henry McMaster, who will sign it. Like I said, I'll have the updates on Friday. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has agreed to decide whether South Carolina's congressional districts need to be redrawn because they discriminate against black voters. The justices on Monday said that they would review a lower court ruling that found a coastal district running from Charleston to Hilton Head, that's the South Carolina 1st District, currently Nancy Mace is a representative for. They said that district was intentionally redrawn to reduce the number of Democratic-leading black voters and to make it a more likely Republican candidates would win. The case probably will be argued in the fall, and it'll be decided in the run-up to the 2024 elections, when all the seats in the closely divided House of Representatives, which is now under Republican control, will be on the ballot. The 3-judge court had ruled in favor of civil rights groups that challenged the congressional map when it said in its opinion in January that the districts violated the Federal Voting Rights Act by unfairly diluting the power of black voters. So you probably remember the story. I've talked about it before. So the Supreme Court is taking it up, although the South Carolina court ruled that, yes, it was gerrymandered, but it was appealed by Republicans. And now it's all the way to the Supreme Court. So we'll see what they rule on that. If they decide that the lower court's ruling was correct, then it's going to have to be redrawn because it's gerrymandered. We also talked about how Representative Jim Clyburn, a Democrat, may have had a hand in some capacity. There was that ProPublica article I shared a couple shows back. And so it's not just, as much as you want to blame the Republicans because they are the ones who drew this map and did it purposely to gerrymander it, at least according to the courts. But at least one Democrat was there assisting in some capacity, trying to bolster his own chances of winning his district. So not everyone is clean on this one, but hey, you never know with the Supreme Court either which way they may rule. So they may say, nah, this is fine. So we'll definitely keep you posted on that because honestly, you really just don't know what's going to happen. All right, let's shift gears here a little bit. A first-of-its-kind adult high school, which was created by Palmetto Goodwill and Trident Tech, is about to open here. So what is this all about? Palmetto Goodwill's Chief of Mission and Marketing, Elliot Smalley, said students in the upcoming, what they're calling Excel Center, will be able to earn a high school diploma instead of a GED. Smalley said there are about 60,000 people in the Low Country who lack a high school diploma. He adds that this new adult high school, which will be open to anyone 21 years of age and over, will give those people a second chance to earn that diploma and, of course, further their education. For the first year, Goodwill said that they are going to serve about 150 students, growing up to 200 students in the second year, and then they plan on 300 in their third year. Officials said that they will offer free car transportation to and from the campus, along with free childcare and free academic and life coaching. I mean, this is pretty great, right? An adult high school, great idea. People can get their high school diploma, although the GED is an option as well. This is, for whatever reason, they've decided, hey, let's do this as like an actual high school diploma. And, some people may prefer that over the GED option. And, knowing that some people who may want to get their diploma, maybe they, because they dropped out of high school or whatever may have happened, they may not have, a career where they'll have a lot of money that they can spend on doing this because, of course, without a degree from high school, that is, a diploma, may be difficult to get a good paying job or to, find a job, period. That's feels like everywhere is constantly hiring and everyone's short-staffed around town, but, they still might not hire someone if they don't have a diploma. That's usually a requirement of some jobs. So this is a great way for people to do that. And as I mentioned, they realize, hey, these folks may need some additional help. So having that transportation childcare, and then, and on top of that, some life coaching and academic coaching to help them get back in the swing of being in school, and then, what they can do once they have their diploma. I think this is amazing, and I was happy to share a story like this and was very happy to see it. I think this is pretty great. So they have a budget of around $1.5 million for this first year, with most of the money coming from the state. It's supplemented by donations as well. Enrollment for the new high school opens in the next few months, and the first day of class will be on August 28th. But you knew I couldn't just leave it there. I got to go back to the ridiculousness of South Carolina politics. And this one is such a dumb story. I don't mean, the way it's written or just what the story is talking about. It's just so dumb and just so on brand for politics here in South Carolina. So this is about the Charleston County Council and this dumb, long, drawn-out waste of time regarding a commemoration of George Washington. So an effort to recognize our nation's first president on the 232nd anniversary of his visit to Charleston broke down into squabbling last week when members narrowly passed a resolution in Washington's honor. The 5-4 vote broke along party lines. Council members from both sides gave varying explanations for their votes on that resolution, which, by the way, really doesn't do anything when a county or whatever honors, especially someone who is deceased and is a former president. It doesn't really mean anything. So that's a dumb thing to begin with. These commemorations can be nice for different reasons and purposes. I get that, and that's totally fine. I have no issue with commemorating certain people. I would prefer if we're commemorating people in the community and not a long dead president. But hey, I get it. He was our nation's first president. Whatever. Just pass it, don't pass it. Who cares, right? Within reason, of course. We'll get into some of those reasons. So the debate over how the county council might recognize George Washington began in early March. A new person on that council, Larry Kobrowski, he also used to be the chair of, I can't remember if it was the South Carolina Democratic Party or Charleston, I'm sorry, not Democrat. He was either the head of the state or like a Charleston version of the Republican Party. He was like the chairman or head of it or whatever, but now he's on Charleston County Council. He wanted them to honor February 22nd each year for its original purpose, which was celebrating George Washington's birthday. Apparently, he was upset that the national holiday became, quote, meaningless, end quote, in 1971 when it became known as President's Day. So since 1971, George Washington's birthday has been celebrated as President's Day. We celebrate all our presidents. And he is mad that, mad might not be the right word, but, this is his reasoning for wanting to have this resolution to commemorate Washington, is that, oh, boo-hoo, President's Day is no longer George Washington's birthday. It's not George Washington Day. Well, poor guy. I'm sure George Washington just super broken up about it right now. I mean, come on, man, this is ridiculous. But okay, whatever. It's important to him. It's a silly commemoration. Fine. Well, his other reasoning why Charleston County should commemorate George Washington is, as I mentioned, he stayed in the Holy City for 8 days back in May of 1791. And he went to a bunch of different sites. You've probably heard them on tours or read about it or what have you. He went to St. Michael's Church, St. Philip's Church, the Exchange Building, and so on and so forth. The measure failed originally. It was brought back up. That's how badly he wanted this to pass. He also, whatever the resolution originally had, one council member objected to it because it didn't give an accurate portrayal of the fact that Washington had owned or had enslaved people. I didn't see it. It wasn't in the article what exactly the original resolution said, but whatever. It was taken out. It was, I just want to honor him. I'll take out, stuff like that. So once I get that you got to kind of look at what exactly the wording of a commemoration is, but yeah, once you edit something out that doesn't make sense or whatever, all right, whatever, just pass it. But they just couldn't. It just became this long debate, and it was just so dumb. Neither of them would just drop it and be like, you know what, this is dumb. This is so much trouble over something dumb. Let's just let's just say, screw it. Let's get down to, the actual work we should be doing. But nope, they wanted to hold on to it. And the other side was not willing to just be like, you know what, whatever. Yes, we'll commemorate him. Who cares? Let's move on. So just a silly, ridiculous waste of time over a commemoration of a long dead president. I would say shocking, but it's not. And finally, some good news to end on. School district employees across South Carolina qualify for up to 6 weeks of paid parental leave starting next month. I've talked about this a few times, when it was moving through the legislature, finally passed the General Assembly, and has now been signed by Governor McMaster. So beginning next month, that paid leave now applies to school district employees. Previously, it was just state employees, but for some reason left out teachers and anyone else who works in school districts, which was kind of bizarre. So thankfully, both sides came together and got this done. The new law, like I said, was signed by Governor McMaster to make South Carolina the first state in the Southeast to offer teachers that much time off without requiring them to, use vacation or sick time or simply go without a paycheck. So right now, neighboring Georgia offers 3 weeks. So South Carolina, it's what when I'm saying it's the first state in the Southeast to offer that much time, it's because Georgia does offer some, just it's a little bit less. But this new law will take effect on June 26th. And that'll do it for this episode of Holy City Center Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins of LMC Sound System for producing this in each and every episode. And thank you to Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each and every show as well. As I mentioned, I'll get you all caught up on Friday with anything that happened with the state legislature, particularly as it applies to the abortion ban. Whatever updates there are, I'll be sure to have that for you in the next show. And so until then, good night and good luck.